Today, I'm about to get real vulnerable and share some absolutely wild experiences I've had with therapists. Trust me, it's quite the roller coaster, so buckle up. Let me take you back to my first therapist. Courtesy of my workplace health plan, I started seeing him because I was taking a big step. I was moving in with my boyfriend, who's now my husband. I was worried about how he would react to my eating disorder and all of the rituals that came with it. After all, living together meant I really couldn't hide it anymore. So, picture this. Sessions were always around 1 p.m. in an office with several windows letting in that warm afternoon sun. We would get comfortable, start talking about my deepest insecurities, and then he would literally fall asleep. I would just sit there, completely in shock, watching my therapist doze off during my vulnerable moment. I think I would cough or make a noise to wake him up. I can't even remember because I was so mortified. When he did snap awake, he would mumble something about just having lunch and it making him tired, but would tell me, just keep talking, only to fall back asleep again. Needless to say, I think I saw him maybe 2 times before I was out of there. After that disaster, I tried seeking out another therapist, also through work. She seemed pleasant at first, but during our very first session, she dropped this bomb. If you don't recover before you hit 30, you probably never will. Well, just like that, I was done. As you can imagine, I felt completely defeated. Being in my late 20s, I kind of believed her. I thought, well, I guess that's it. There is no fixing me. So I stopped looking for help for a really long time. Then fast forward to my 30s, my anxiety reached an all-time high. I finally started taking a medication which helped me sleep and manage constant ruminations, and things were getting a little better. And then COVID hit. I was terrified. On top of struggling with OCD, my eating disorder, I'm also germaphobe, of course. It was a really tough time, and I know many of you felt the same way. Eventually, I decided to try therapy again, but not for my eating disorder. By then, I had completely given up on recovery because, hey, I was in my 30s and remembered that my therapist said it was probably impossible. So instead, I sought out a therapist who specialized in OCD. My OCD therapist was great and provided many helpful tools and tips, but she lacked the knowledge about my eating disorder. So in my experience, it's nearly impossible to overcome obsessions when you're malnourished. The rituals can't be broken when you're consumed with thoughts about food restriction, exercise, and related behaviors. Proper nutrition needs to come first before meaningful progress can be made with OCD. When your body is nourished, your brain finally has the resources to do the difficult work of addressing obsessive thoughts and compulsive behaviors. Now, here's where it gets a little more interesting. Stick with me. In my late 30s, I finally reached my breaking point. I wanted to really try recovery again. I didn't want to live in this hell anymore. My daily routine was exhausted. Working out every day, eating just enough to get through the workday, and feeling constantly drained, crabby, irritated. Could I actually change? I desperately wanted to. I reached out to as many local therapists specializing in eating disorders as I possibly could, but the reality was brutal. Post-COVID, eating disorders had skyrocketed, and the availability was practically non-existent. I was put on so many waiting lists, but one experience stands out above the rest. There was one highly recommended therapist who was praised by other professionals. Everyone said he's the one to see. Perfect, right? So I called him, I left a voicemail. He called back late the next day, sounding almost irritated. I explained my 20-year battle with anorexia, and then he immediately asked, well, how much do you weigh? I told him I wasn't sure. I avoided weighing myself because it's pretty much always a negative experience, but I knew I was underweight. I gave him an estimate. Then he asked how tall I was. And after I answered his questions, his response absolutely floored me. Well, it doesn't sound like you're on your deathbed, so I'll add you to my wait list. And the wait list is about 9 months. 9 months? And the casual not on my deathbed comment? I couldn't believe a professional specializing in eating disorders would speak to someone like that. I was shocked, angry, speechless. Not on my deathbed? I had no words. Honestly, I still don't. Yes, I was extremely underweight, but even if I wasn't, you can have anorexia and restrict at any weight. Eating disorders are not just about low body weight. They affect people across all body types and entire weight spectrums. And this man, supposedly a specialist in eating disorders, would say a comment like that? That could push someone over the edge, making them sicker, feel unworthy of treatment, or possibly put them on their actual deathbed. What was he thinking? Fortunately, I was still in the right mindset to move forward despite his dismissive attitude. The last therapist I had before inpatient treatment had recovered from an eating disorder herself. I was excited and I thought, this is the one, someone who truly gets it. We worked together for about a year. In the beginning, things were okay. I had mentioned that I had read about someone in recovery eating a full jar of peanut butter, and I told her I really wanted to try that. But she shut down that immediately, saying that it wasn't a good idea. Then she shared that she had once eaten an entire box of donuts and just felt uncomfortable and ashamed afterwards. I don't know, it was something along those lines. But here's the thing, if you talk to anyone who's truly recovered, they'll tell you to eat, even if you are just thinking about food, even when you are not physically hungry. Your body needs to repair. And if food is constantly on your mind, that is hunger, even if your normal hunger cues haven't kicked in yet. You should eat as much and as often as you want during recovery. Then not long after, I hit a deep depression. I was losing weight again. I couldn't get out of bed. I was really struggling and I couldn't even work out anymore. And her suggestion? Keep on working out. She said it might be something that would help me get out of my funk because it's something I enjoyed. But working out? I wasn't eating. I was exhausted and severely anorexic. The last thing I should have been doing was pushing my body any harder. What is happening with these professionals? Fortunately, a few weeks later, she shared that she didn't think she could help me anymore. And that's when she recommended inpatient treatment. It was the best advice she could have given. I called several treatment centers that my therapist recommended. I did a ton of research, and honestly, I didn't feel ready, but you never truly will. I knew I just had to do it. I only felt comfortable with the idea of virtual treatment at night. I wanted to keep working and stick to my regular routines, but of course the treatment centers would only accept me if I did inpatient treatment. I was too sick, and naturally I refused. And after all the research, the phone calls, the assessments, one treatment center finally called me back. They told me that night treatment wasn't an option, but they would allow me to do virtual PHP, a partial hospitalization program, and continue assessing my progress. And I was ready. They were willing to take a chance on me. That's when my real recovery journey began. If you are struggling with your current therapist, do not hesitate to keep looking. I've had some wild experiences and want you to know it is okay to end a relationship with a therapist you are not clicking with. Try to find a new one first, but never feel bad about moving on. You have to take care of yourself and do what's best for you in your recovery. My current outpatient therapist is incredible, and I am so grateful for her. It took several wrong fits, but I finally found one I truly connect with. Take that first step, even if it's small. If this story resonated with you, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you think someone else could benefit from hearing this. We have got this. Recovery is possible, no matter how long you've been struggling or what some therapist might have told you. Thank you for watching my story, and I hope it helps you feel less alone on your journey.